Today, we are tackling one of the most critical challenges in the pharmaceutical world: how to accurately value a new medicine in an increasingly complex and demanding market. All right, let's just start with a number like this. We're talking about breakthrough treatments, things like CAR T-cell therapies, that can run over $500,000 for a single patient. Now, when you're dealing with financial stakes this high, getting the valuation right, well, it's not just important, is it? It is absolutely everything. So here's our agenda for this explainer. We'll start with the high-stakes reality, then look at the huge valuation gap that currently exists. We'll cover what really drives value beyond clinical trials, and then we'll introduce Access-Wize. Finally, we'll talk about your strategic advantage and the future of value itself. Okay, so let's dive into that first section: valuation's high-stakes reality. The real question we have to ask is, what happens when we try to apply yesterday's valuation models to tomorrow's complex therapies? And this isn't some academic theory. This is a real-world case study. A traditional valuation model estimated a CAR T therapy's worth at 370 billion yen, but a modern integrated model came in at just 133 billion. That is a staggering valuation gap of over 50%, a multi-billion-dollar error. It proves, in no uncertain terms, the old way of doing things is fundamentally broken. So that brings us to the next logical question: where does a billion-dollar gap like that even come from? Well, it's because the old models are, frankly, looking in the wrong place. They completely miss the commercial realities that actually determine a drug's success in the market. You see, traditional models are almost entirely anchored to clinical success rates, but they just ignore the tough commercial hurdles. They don't factor in the long delays to get market access or the huge price cuts, sometimes 60 or 70%, that come from tough negotiations with payers. They underestimate the millions it costs to generate the real-world evidence that's now demanded. And they are completely blind to major policy shifts that can change the entire financial landscape overnight. So, if it's not all about the success of a clinical trial, what truly matters? What are the real drivers of value that we should be focused on? This chart, a tornado analysis from the case study, tells the whole story. Look at the top. The variables with the biggest impact on a drug's net present value are things like your probability of a successful negotiation and the final price discount. Now, look way down at the bottom. That little bar? That's the success rate of your phase 3 clinical trial. The message is crystal clear. The game has completely changed. To get this right, we need an entirely new approach, an integrated valuation framework. It's built on 3 pillars. 1, a market access model to simulate pricing and access pathways. 2, an early HTA model to define your evidence requirements. And 3, a disease simulation model to predict long-term value. Now, a critical piece of this is engaging with health technology assessment bodies, or HTAs, much, much earlier in the process, ideally before you even begin your major clinical trials. The goal here is to shift from merely proving a drug works to proving its real-world value right from the outset, ensuring you generate the exact evidence payers need to see the first time. To navigate this complex new landscape, you need more than just a better spreadsheet. You need a purpose-built, integrated platform. That's what we're here to talk about. So the core question for every single stakeholder is this: how do you take this powerful, complex framework and turn it into a concrete, actionable, and repeatable strategy to de-risk your assets and maximize their value? This is where Access-Wize comes in. It's an AI-driven platform built from the ground up to bring that entire integrated valuation framework to life. Its 3 core modules, Evidence Radar, Model Builder, and Value Insights, directly align with the 3 pillars of the framework, turning complex theory into a powerful, practical workflow. And the workflow is designed for simplicity and power. You upload your data, let the AI extract the key parameters, you configure your models and scenarios, and then you analyze the visual results. It's all about operationalizing strategy. Okay, so that's the what. Now for the really crucial part, the so what. What does this mean for you in your specific role? Let's break down the strategic advantage for key decision makers. First, for the biotech investor. For you, Access-Wize is fundamentally a de-risking tool. It allows you to look beyond the exciting clinical data and rigorously quantify the commercial and market access risks. You can validate a startup's valuation with a model that's grounded in reality, not just hope. This allows you to make smarter go, no-go decisions and structure your investments around data-driven, value-based milestones. Next, for our pharma market access teams. Think of Access-Wize as your strategic command center. You can run thousands of simulations to define optimal pricing corridors for your payer negotiations. You can pinpoint exactly which evidence will deliver the highest return on investment, so you don't waste millions on the wrong studies. It allows you to design sophisticated launch strategies and proactively manage policy risks, turning reactive work into a data-driven plan for success. For the specialists in HTA and health economics and outcomes research, this platform is a massive accelerator. The AI engine automates the painstaking, often months-long process of evidence synthesis. This frees you up to focus on the high-value work, building more robust economic models, stress testing them against countless scenarios, and crafting the compelling value story that bridges the gap between a clinical trial and a positive reimbursement decision. And finally, for academic researchers and clinicians, Access-Wize is the tool that connects your incredible innovation to the real world. It allows you to rapidly synthesize evidence for your research, but more importantly, it lets you model the long-term impact of your work, to quantify its true value to the healthcare system, and to understand exactly what it takes to translate a discovery from the lab into everyday clinical practice. When you step back and look at all this, it's clear the entire landscape of pharmaceutical development is undergoing a fundamental and permanent shift. It is an irreversible move away from simply selling a product towards demonstrating concrete, measurable value. In this new paradigm, regulatory approval is no longer the finish line. It's just the starting gun. Success now depends entirely on your ability to prove and communicate value to every single stakeholder in the system. And that leaves us with one final, crucial question. Your innovation is proven, but is your valuation? In today's world, that is the only question that truly matters.